All right. Hello, Tellor community. Welcome to the Tellor Tech Call, January 28th, 2020. It's exciting times. Telegram group is abuzz. Things are going on, which is always exciting. But we'll dive into kind of the tech stuff first, talk about some of the community issues, then move into the questions, kind of give you an outline of the call. So the first one, I don't think I pushed a minor update over the past week. At least it wasn't a big one, but I am getting ready to push a big one probably tomorrow. So the big change is going to be we're adding a dispute tracker. So if you guys know how the Tellor system works, people can submit, they mine and then they submit values. And the only way it's actually secure is if we have people monitoring those values that are posted. And if they're bad, we can dispute them. So you say, hey, he lied, then we all go and we vote on whether or not he actually lied, and then we can slash the malicious miner. This is an integral part of the Tellor system. The problem at the moment, though, is right now we require people to basically monitor the values that are put in, which, as you know, can be very tedious. So what we wanted to do was create a way for us to automate this process. So now what we're doing is whenever you run the miner, it's actually it's an option. You can click to run. It's going to store the historical values. So you're going to store, say, it's a config option. You can store the past 10-minute values, and then you can compare what the submitted value was to those historical values. So if you query every 30 seconds, you'll have a nice big range. So you'll have a min and a max of all the values that were submitted or that you queried in those 10 minutes. And then you can set a threshold, say 10% outside of that range. If the value that was submitted was outside of your threshold, so 15% outside of the range, what's going to happen is that your system's going to tell you, hey, here was an outlier, and then you can decide whether you want to dispute it or not. Because we didn't want to automate it because it costs some tributes. So I think it costs like about 500 tributes now to dispute. It's a big deal. Because if you submit wrongly, because the miner's frozen out of the system for a week. So it goes to him. So it is a big deal, but I think it makes our system a whole lot safer. So we're going to be pushing that out. If you're running a miner on your own, it would be great if you could run that as well. But even if you're not running a miner, you can kick off the disputer and just monitor the network. It'll take up a little bit of your CPU, and that's about it. So this is going to be an important piece to kind of Tellor security. So hopefully we can get that up and running. Other things, the pool has been doing great. I think we got like 26 blocks yesterday, which was crazy exciting. So we're going to be working on, over this past week, we pushed some documentation on how to join the pool. So it's in the read the docs. So even if you don't have 1,000 tributes, you can still contribute some hash power to the pool. You can start earning some tributes. Everything is still kind of a work in progress with a lot of the monitoring of it and a lot of kind of just showing what exactly you're going to make and profit calculators. But it's really nice that we're getting this up and running. It's been completely sort of owned by the community from the get-go. So hopefully we can keep that going. So that's about it from the dev side. So as far as us creating things over the past week, some other things, we've had some people comment on the CrossChain piece, and a lot of people think that, I'm just going to kind of explain some of the issues that people have been talking about. So some people have said, this is a proof of stake. Well, not necessarily. Just because there's a staking element to it doesn't necessarily mean it's proof of stake. Similar to like how we have staking in the Tellor system. You could say it's proof, like there is a staking piece to it, but it's not like a proof of stake consensus, like in those kind of things. The big sort of piece that, as we talk to a lot of these other chains, the piece of the issue that will come up with the CrossChain piece is that the minting rewards so far planned are not going to go to these cross-chain pieces. And what this means is that, so if you know right now that Tellor on Ethereum, the only reason that the miners are spending all of this work to do this is because they're getting these freshly printed Tellor tokens. If we took that away, you could say like, okay, you can pay us in TRB, so you just can tip TRB, and the winning miner gets that tipped TRB. And this is a pure fee model. And that's what we were planning on implementing on these cross chains, a pure fee model. But as probably anyone in crypto knows, kind of fee models are not very successful at the moment, just because not a whole lot, especially whenever you're sort of bootstrapping your users on there, there's not a whole lot of demand to drive those fees. So, you know, the question you get from other chains is, would Tellor be willing to sacrifice some of those minting rewards on Ethereum and put them on the other chain? And it's something that we'd really have to think about as a community. But, you know, it always comes down, like, minting rewards are one of those things that are great, but, you know, this leads nicely into the other discussion with, you know, so a lot of people have realized that we do have very high inflation on Tellor right now. We started at a zero supply and are growing upwards. So there is a really high inflation rate, which means that's what we're using inflation to pay for the security of the network. But who loses in inflation is actually the token holders. So the token holders, since there's inflation in the network, their tokens are diluted and they lose out. And this isn't a bad thing, because if you can sort of grow at a fast enough pace that paying them with minting tokens is worth it to even the holders, that's when it makes sense. So, you know, a lot of people have talked like, oh, could Tellor do a halving event, or could Tellor move to maybe minting less? And the answer is, you know, sky's the limit on what we can do, but it's just a question of whether or not you want to do those things that fast. We always sort of knew we were going to have this nice predictable thing, but maybe are we growing too fast? It's a debate that we can have. But anyway, back to the cross-chain piece. The other chains, they want to know if we can mint over there, and how secure will things be. Of course, if all you have to do is stake tokens and then you can report on it, it's a lot easier than you don't need the minting rewards to have this very large proof of work network. But, you know, fee-based things, a lot of crypto is sort of this kind of pyramid scheme that's built on minting rewards. You know, you stake and then you get minting rewards only if you stake more, and it leads to just forcing everyone to stake. And we don't want that, because that's what we're fighting against. We want to build something that actually makes sense. You stake and you get these rewards. If we can use minting rewards over there to sort of bolster the network and provide some additional security, and we're actually getting users over there, that's different, and I think we're open to that. Okay, have to of course say bounties. There are more bounties out there. If you guys saw, we had a community member, Callan. He posted a mining article, how to mine Tellor, at $100 in tributes. So you guys too can go write some articles. It's great to have the community writing these articles. He reached out to me to do that. We've been adding some more Binance chain ones. So if anybody is interested in kind of the Cosmos SDK, which is what it's built on, or building on top of Binance chain, we know that there's a lot of opportunities there coming up. And since it's very similar to kind of the Cosmos piece, and we have a little bit of a Binance connection already, we thought it would be a good place to go and start to see if we can throw Tellor up there, at least get we've been talking about having a token over there. So you could have like a BEP2 token that's like the Binance chain ERC20, so you could use Binance to trade it over on Binance chain. We know it's up and coming. It's not the most utilized of chains at the moment, but not many of them are. But it would be cool to have it over there. So if you want to help build that, let us know. So that is about it for the updates. But we actually, if you guys saw, we passed out a forum for you guys to ask questions. And we got a lot of you to ask questions. So Mike and I will just kind of go through and answer some questions now. And obviously, if you're on the Zoom call, feel free to ask away. First one, how are you, Mike?
I'm doing well, thank you. I think that question actually came from Brenda, so
Okay.
thanks for asking, Brenda.
Yeah, so we'll fly through these. Which planet will Tellor be on in 5 months? The moon or even farther? We'll pass.
The moon isn't a planet. So.
Yes, we'll let you guys answer that. The other one, how will the Tellor team bring more liquidity to tributes? This is a good one. So part of the issue is that I'm actually working on a liquidity article, so I'm going to post probably over the next few weeks. And just liquidity is this thing, it's this weird nebulous concept that it's sort of difficult to grasp. So, you want the ability to buy and sell large amounts at any point, and it's probably not as good of a thing as you think it is, because a lot of people think a more liquid coin will mean a higher price, but that's not how it works. Usually a higher price and a more utilized coin means higher liquidity, and it doesn't necessarily work the other way around. So if trying to, even if a team or somebody is placing a whole lot of tributes up there to sell or buy, for people to sell, you're basically just subsidizing this structure. If there's a lot of pieces that can come into why liquidity is low in a coin, and some of it isn't bad. If you have a very volatile coin, you're not going to have a whole lot of liquidity really tight on the book, just because the coin can move a lot and the market makers aren't going to want to get screwed. So I'm working on an article on that, but the important thing is I don't think liquidity is as much of an issue as you think it is. Any user who actually wants to use tributes to request data, reach out to me personally. I will personally make sure that you can buy tributes. And that's the other thing. If most people who we found, like they complain that there's not enough liquidity on IDEX to buy. I'm like, well, what are you looking to buy? And let's say it's if they're looking to buy $20,000, I'm like, you're literally looking to buy like a percentage of the market cap. You're like buying 1% of the entire market cap at that point. So like, you should move the price upward. If they come and they say they want to buy 1% of your entire market cap at a discount, like, that it's absurd to think that you should be able to do that. Just because there is, that's a market moving trade, it should move the price. So yeah, if you think liquidity is an issue, reach out to me. I'm happy. We know a lot of people who have large amounts of tributes that we can be willing to make some matches if you really feel like it. But honestly, just go place an order on an exchange. You're going to get hit if it's a fair price. If you're trying to trade at not a fair price, that's why you have no liquidity there. Anyway, rant over. Does Tellor consider projects such as Chainlink to be competition, or can they both thrive in the crypto and DeFi space? Great question. I think we can definitely both thrive. I think, so this goes on to another question that we're going to answer in a minute, but we're working actually on an alliance of decentralized oracles. So we're working on a way that you could have one smart contract and it reads in Tellor's price, Chainlink's price, Witnet's price, Band's price, all of these oracle prices, and then it takes the median. And now you actually have an oracle contract that is, you can have people, like, they can weight them however they want, but now it allows us to serve much bigger clients. So that's like the problem with Tellor at the moment. So say like a maker or some other giant derivatives project wants to use Tellor as an oracle. Well, the first thing they would do, and that we would be honest and tell them is like, listen, we have a $2 million market cap or whatever it is today. We probably can't secure the $100 million worth of DAI. Like, it probably just isn't going to happen. But if you use us and Chainlink for a little bit, or us and some of these other oracles, then you can slowly, as Tellor grows, move towards the more decentralized options. And that's something that we definitely see as a possibility. And I think a lot of it comes, we really believe in the space, and Chainlink is doing some research in the space as far as contributing, and we hope that we can. The biggest challenge in kind of like our biggest competition is not Chainlink. Our biggest competition is a decentralized Oracle. So whenever you're talking to projects, it's not like, should I use Tellor or Chainlink? The real thing is like, they're like, hey, well, we're just going to put the price in ourselves. That's the sort of mentality that we have to break from in the space, is that should never be an option. You should never be allowed to put it in, because that's just antithetical to what we're building here.
And I'm working on an article that sort of tells that narrative. And one thing that you guys can do as community is the more that you understand what he's saying, and the more you guys spread the word about that, the more that these projects will feel the pressure and the demand from all of us to actually decentralize the Oracle. It's an awareness issue, I think. So.
Yeah. Next one, will Tellor build its own blockchain? No plans at the moment. Yeah, I mean, what would that even mean? So anyway, more progress updates on the auto. So auto meaning, yes, so Alliance of Decentralized Oracles. So the Alliance of Decentralized Oracles. So what we're doing is we're trying to get together with all of these other decentralized oracles, and we're going to be able to work together to go get bigger clients and have things that actually make sense. So the update, we're working with them still. So we have an EIP out there. It's in our GitHub, if you're into that kind of thing. But we're probably trying to plan a public meeting sometime around the ETH Denver, so mid-February timeline, where we're going to get some final comments. We're actually going to probably work on, by the end of February, we're going to have a contract out there where it has, the Alliance of Decentralized Oracles, and you can just read that contract and get a meeting of all of them. But we want your guys' input. We want just some more feedback on it, because we want to make sure that we're getting it right for users, because that's what we're building it for. So yeah, update on the auto, planning a public meeting mid-February. Getting all of those guys from all around the world is it's like herding cats. So next one, have you applied to be a member of the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance? No. I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know. Consent, yeah, we'll pass.
Please, yeah.
Next one, really good one. Can we evaluate the possibility of burning tokens for value accrual to non-miners and token holders in general, similar to EIP 1559? I won't read the HTTP. So this one I'm actually a big fan of. For the person who asked this question, I think I know who it was. But the idea is that, so in Ethereum and similar to Tellor, so you have tips. So the block, or the request ID that gets chosen next is based on who has the highest tips. And in the same way that Ethereum, the transaction that is chosen next, or transactions that will go in the next block, are based upon how much gas you're paying. So the idea, you guys have probably heard like ETH is the oil to the engine. So in the way, like, you have to use ETH to pay for your transactions, and it's like oil, and that's what drives its value. But the problem is actually that ETH is not like oil. ETH is like water, in that you can use it, and then it gets pissed out to miners on the other end, and then they can resell it back and use it again. So it's this constant cycle, like very similar like a money. But in that sense, it's not like oil in that it doesn't, so you have this constant minting of it, but there's no burning of it. So if you wanted a way to sort of, a fair way to lower the supply and keep it, is you could burn the tokens that are tipped. So you do have to tip, and a portion or all of them could be burned. So you can just have this method for reducing the supply. And we had talked about this from a while. We don't like burning tokens for the sake of burning tokens. But if it fits nicely within your monetary policy, then it can make sense. So especially, because the idea is that, if tributes become really cheap, but the data is still requested, then people would be willing to pay more tributes to tip, and then the supply of tributes would go down, and then the price would go up, and people would be willing to pay less tributes per thing, and it would be sort of this cycle that would even itself out. So definitely go look EIP 1559. Yeah, I think that would be like a V2 implementation.
Mm-hmm.
So something, V2 is like, I think we'd plan like August or September this year, sometime around there. And that would be, it would be a really easy thing to implement. But we just want to really model it out. Next one, why would you opt for an infinite supply? Yeah, I mean, we could put a cap in 100 years like Bitcoin. It's, we fully, kind of like we just talked about in literally the last question, changing the monetary policy is still flexible. There's no problem with an infinite supply. If you expect your network to constantly be growing, you would never want to hard cap it. You would never want to have this limit where, like, we're printing this many, and even if the network grows, then what happens is, let's say you have so many users that can't break down to a finite enough piece, and there's always problems if you have finite supplies. But even more in general, just admitting that we're open to kind of adjusting the monetary policy to fit the need of Tellor. The goal of Tellor is not the value accrual of Tellor tokens. The value accrual to Tellor tokens should happen if Tellor becomes successful, because they're sort of needed to back the network and everything like that. But the real goal of Tellor is to be a decentralized oracle, to provide price data to these smart contracts, to be useful in some way besides just, accruing value. And that's kind of the issue. Like, yes, you always have like these empty tokenomic promises where we're just going to continuously decrease in supply and we'll force staking, and it's just not what you need. It's just gimmicks to have short-term price movement. The ideal thing is you want to get usage, and the accrual should go from there, not anywhere else. Next one, how to mine without 1,000 tributes and how to set up need video guide. So you can now mine Tellor without staking 1,000 tributes. You can mine on our Tellor pool. So we have somebody running a pool, other people can start up pools, and you should be able to mine just pointing your GPU power at it. You can look at the read the docs. So if you go in miner setup, there's instructions on how to set up the pool. Let us know what else we can add to it. I just threw a bounty up there today because I saw this question for somebody making a video guide. If somebody wants to make a video guide, should be relatively simple. It's not all that difficult, but yeah, definitely just reach out. Discord seems to be the place to go for pool questions. So go over there, and I'm sure they'll walk you through setting it up. TRB needs a Bitcoin pair. When will this happen? I think we have one. I think we had one with Etherbase. Or like, what was the VTech or Cytex? I think may have had a BTC pair. Yeah, I don't know. Why do we need a? I don't know. Maybe I disagree with why we need a BTC pair. We're on ETH. We're on Ethereum, so maybe we need a BTC pair. I don't know. But yeah, we can. We're not too big into trying to get these exchange listings.
And when they do, they look at our ETH pair being where the most of the volume is, and so they want to have an ETH pair.
Yeah.
And so that's what they do.
Yeah, like we said, we're trying to get users. Like Bitcoin. Obviously, if TRB is a Bitcoin pair, it's going to be on a centralized exchange. It's probably not our ideal user anyway. Next question, Mike. How was your weekend?
well, we had sailors.
Yeah.
Went to your daughter's first birthday. It was nice.
Fun weekend.
And then we celebrated my mother's 68th birthday that evening. And we had no family feuds. So
there you go.
It was good.
Next, what adoption would see Tellor being recognized as a major project in the crypto space? I think any real adoption, like literally like, being read by a few high profile projects, which we're on track to do. Just getting code into coding up things takes a while, but I think just staying on track with getting a few good projects to start reading us, and then you are a major project. You can look at what are considered major projects in the space, and if you look at their real volume and you try and take out what the team is probably trading, it's pretty minuscule. You just want to see some adoption and some growth in that sense, and even just over the long term, because new projects come in kind of on a slower basis, so like a yearly basis, and you want to see them sort of migrating to Tellor. I would love to see projects at different hackathons eventually coming to Tellor, and just more people. We've had several projects now who are starting to build their project. They're 6-9 months away from launching, but it means so much whenever they come and they're like, hey, how would we plan to use Tellor? And those are really great to hear. And then
or like, they plan to use us and they've heard of us before even meeting us. Those kind of things are really great signs for us.
Yeah. So whenever we get the young projects that and then a lot of times like we'll sit down and we'll be like, okay, this is where your project doesn't make sense. Like we'll even just help them brainstorm their own project idea so they can actually have a decentralized product that makes sense. We're going to try and be as much of a value add to their project as humanly possible. Next one, will Tellor hold a trading competition every year? Big question here. I didn't know Tellor ever held a trading competition. No, I don't think so. Next, have you decided on which CrossChain path you will integrate first, Matic or Cosmos, and a timeline for it? Probably Matic, since Matic is a side chain of Ethereum. It's going to be a whole lot more simpler of a build. And I would hope to get kind of testing on that probably early Q2 this year. So yeah, it should be a relatively quick build. If you saw, there's a repo, Tellor ACS. I already started hacking it out. So definitely would think Matic would be first and then Cosmos after that. Next one, without aggressive marketing, how do you expect clients to flock to you? I think this is, we've been talking a lot about this kind of thing. So marketing in the crypto space is, it's not all, we're trying to find actual users. We're trying to find people who believe in the project. You don't want short-term speculators. Anyone who's going to see an ad and buy your crypto is, just maybe not the educated user who you want voting on your governance platform. The thing is that the number of projects out there that really need an oracle, good projects, like these are projects that, so you obviously, if they're going to be implementing a smart contract, they know Solidity. So they've been around the Ethereum space for a while. Most of them have heard, we actually have been aggressive when marketing to the clients. Yes.
We've gone to DevCon twice. We're going to ETH Denver. We go to hackathons in our area in New York, in DC. We go to these events and actually aggressively and directly market to the people that matter.
Yeah, and this is where we need your guys' help too, especially on the overseas side.
Yes.
Aggressively marketing isn't putting Twitter ads or Reddit ads out. It's finding these specific projects, because you can look at the entire DeFi space now. Like you can go to like DeFiPulse.com or some of these. There's 30 projects. The ones that are about to launch, say double that. So say there's 60 projects in general that may need a decentralized oracle. Probably most of them don't. But say there's 60 projects. We can all personally reach out and ask every single one of those projects. Like if they all have like you know, we can get in contact with them, and if they still say no to us, like having every single person reach out to them, like that's what it's going to take. You know, like we want to build personal relationships with these projects. You know, we want, whenever being such an integral part of their code, it's not going to take them seeing a Twitter ad and knowing to build on this coin. It's going to be, hey, I met them, they're very supportive, they're going to show us how it works, they're going to walk us through the code, and that's, they're professionals, and that's what we want to do, and that's how we market.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of proven successful, to where, you know, the number of relationships with these projects continues to build, and we expect it to continue to build. Next question. Did you meet CZ in person? Does he know about the Tellor project? So I don't think we've actually met him in person.
We met him virtually.
Yeah, we did a Zoom call with him, which was super cool. So yeah, no, we did a Zoom call. I think he definitely knows about the Tellor project and the Oracle, and he you know, Binance Labs invested in us. So
and Diddler's Day, or
Diddler's Day, he was there. Yeah, so he definitely knows about Tellor project, and you know, whenever I talked to him on Zoom, it was a lot about just kind of Binance chain and how Tellor could potentially support, you know, Binance derivatives over there, and what he thought about, you know, kind of bridging those tokens on Ethereum. And it turned into kind of a little bit of a nerdy what we can build in the future discussion, but it was a good talk. He seems like a smart guy. So yeah, it was good. And last question, in terms of staking, would you like to get in touch with ThorChain? Don't know much about ThorChain, but I know they do liquidity pools and staking, both of which, you know, I think you guys have figured out my view on liquidity pools here. Not necessarily the solution to all of your problems. So yeah, but you know, I think they're doing stuff on Binance chain as well, so they could be a good contact. So at some point, maybe we can work with them.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see.
But still, good thinking. That's the type of thing that we would love to hear from you guys, is connections like that and recommendations or whatever.
So any last questions from the Zoom people? But if not, thank you everyone for coming. It was a great call, and yeah, we will see you guys next week.